in the 90s or early 2000s. A gentleman had a submarine and he comes across this thing and it looks like a lake underneath the water.
Yeah.
And he's bouncing off of it. There's a video of it and everything. You can see it looks like a lake. It looks like water underneath water.
Interesting.
And so that's where that idea comes from, is the fact that maybe we could somehow get through there and maybe there's a whole nother world in there. Who knows? Is it more water or is it dry? Or will we be coming up like in King Kong, or you come through the hole and then you're on another side in another world. But he was killed in a helicopter in a helicopter accident shortly after he released that video.
This is the Crossfiles Podcast, brilliantly blending enlightenment and engagement. This thought-provoking show explores ancient and modern topics through a biblical lens, offering listeners a fresh perspective on historical mysteries, spiritual encounters, and current events. With a focus on the supernatural, your hosts, Michael and Jeri, bring a unique, insightful viewpoint, encouraging listeners to embrace the spiritual significance behind the veil. Join them on a fascinating journey to broaden your horizons and uncover the supernatural aspects of life.
835
Welcome to the Crossfiles Podcast, otherwise known as the Stranger Cloud Podcast. I don't have my partner in podcast crime tonight, Michael Basham, because he is dealing with a family emergency right now. So if you keep him and his family in your prayers, namely his wife's mom, please pray for his wife's mom, that she would have healing for her ailments. And I'm not sure exactly what condition is, but if you could just pray for her. And that's Michael's mother-in-law. So if you could keep her in your thoughts and prayers. And anyway, so I am very blessed to have Kevin Sapiel Jr. as our wonderful guest tonight. And Michael and I were blessed to be on his show a few months ago and wanted to return the favor. And even if he didn't have us on his show, we would still probably want to ask him on our show because he's so fun and interesting. And so welcome, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. It was truly a blessing to be able to talk to you guys on my podcast. You guys, Michael definitely brings quite a bit of humor to this show for sure.
Yes.
He's very theatrical in the way that he talks, and I absolutely love that. And you guys' podcast is pretty great. And I feel honored to be here with you and to be able to converse with you a second time is amazing.
You're amazing, bro. I'm so glad that you're on board and carved out some time for us. And we say us, when I think of us, I think of Michael, but even though he's not here with us, he's with us in spirit. So thank you so much, Kevin, for your time. We're honored and blessed to have you on board. And it's a lot of fun talking to you. And you've got a great podcast yourself, Where the Weird Ones Are. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into podcasting.
All right. First of all, I just want to say that I used to think that podcasts were really dumb. I was like, what in the world would possess somebody to sit there and listen? Because I even thought talk radio got a little annoying at times too.
Right.
Because there's some morning shows and stuff that on the regular, like the local channels of radio. But anyway, so I was like, I'm never listening to podcasts. I was like, podcasts are stupid. And it was 2020. Obviously, we all know what happened in that time. And a friend of mine started a podcast, and he was doing it out of his basement. It was more like a Joe Rogan style kind of thing. And so he had me as a guest on his show, and he's a little bit conspiracy driven, and he opened my eyes to a lot of interesting things back then in that time. And he's, come on, man, there's this really good podcast that I listen to. It'll open your eyes and blah, blah, blah. I was like, man, podcasts are stupid. I don't want to listen. He's like, oh, come on. And then I was at work one day listening to music, and I was just listening to the same songs that are in my playlist over and over again. And I was just like, all right, let's see what this podcast is about. So I started listening to it, and I started enjoying it. And then they had on this podcast, it's a conspiracy podcast, they had a podcaster who does essentially what we do, is interview people about paranormal experiences. And they had him on the show, and he told this wild story about people that he's had on the show, on his show. And I was like, man, I think I want to start a podcast. So I texted my friend. I was like, I think I'm going to start a podcast. He's, what is it going to be about? I was like, paranormal. I was like, paranormal, supernatural, hauntings, all that stuff, aliens. I'm gonna throw in conspiracies too, because why not? And then spirituality, religion, and stuff. So we talk a lot about that. And through the podcast, I ended up, I might be jumping the story ahead, but anyways,
No, you're
so
fine.
when I started, I started it, and I just really wanted to talk to people about like fringe things. So basically, the whole podcast is about fringe topics, the paranormal, conspiracies, truth stuff, God, demons, and how to overcome things. And then it became mental health stuff. I've had my own struggles with mental health, and I've had some crazy experiences paranormal wise, to where I felt like I was crazy. So I really wanted to drive home the mental health aspect and let people know that they're not alone. And it become pretty much, the mental health aspect has become my niche in a sort of way. And what better niche to have than to advocate for mental health? You know what I mean? Um,
Absolutely. I completely agree.
all right. So my most gnarliest or scary experience, paranormal or supernatural wise, I guess. Well, I have two stories that I could probably tell. So I think it was about 2015, 2016-ish area. My ex-wife and I had just split up, and I had the house to myself. And it was one of the nights that I didn't have my kids with me, and I had to, it was a work night, and I was trying to sleep. I lived out in the middle of the woods. I had a farm next to me. I couldn't see my neighbors from my house. I had a long driveway. And almost like every day there was a different kind of animal in my yard. There's deer, turkey. I had pigs in my yard one time. Had an escaped cow in my yard one time. Wait, this particular night, I'm in bed. I'm sleeping. I'm fast asleep. I was probably enjoying it. I don't know. But I woke up to my dogs just freaking out. And I remember waking up and throwing my pillow at them, trying to get them to shut up. And they were scratching out the wall, trying to get to the window. And I'm just like, what is going on? So I get up and I look out the window, and just to like the side of me, so there's this big rock wall that divided my property from the farm property. And the farm property had this big open field before you even got anywhere to any of their buildings. So you could, like, looking at this field from my yard, you couldn't even see their buildings yet. And there was some moonlight, so you couldn't really quite see in the tree line, but you could see through. Because it was fall. I think it was October, and I know that there was like little to no leaves on these trees, which obviously made it easier to look through. And I could see coyotes, and I could hear them. Well, I heard them first, and I could see them, and they were running back and forth in the field, close to the tree line, but not really. But they would get close to the road, and then they would come back towards the woods that were behind my house. So they would go out, that once they got to the side of the house, because the window I was looking at was to the front of the house. So once they went to the side in the yard, in that field over there, I couldn't see them anymore. And I was just like, I looked at my dogs and I'm like, that's just coyotes. You hear them all the time. And it was like 5 of them, I think. But as I'm saying that, I look up, and in the moonlight, the little bit of moonlight that was shining through the trees, I see this little this little coyote coming down my driveway. And I was like, what the heck? And it's limping. And I'm like, oh boy. I was like, I'm going to have to go out there and help this coyote. But at the same time, an injured coyote is a scared coyote, which could cause you to get attacked. I didn't know it at the time. I know that now. So I'm probably never going to attempt to help out a coyote. Anyway, so this thing is limping down the driveway. And so I leave my room and I go to the front door, and the dogs follow me, and they're scratching at the door, trying to get out the door. And I flick on the light, and the coyote stops right outside the light. You know how there's like a beam there when from light, from the illumination. And so it's sitting just outside of the light in the darkness. And I'm looking through the window of my door, and I'm just like, oh man, I really feel like I need to go out there and help this thing. And so I looked back into the field just so that I could tell that none of the other coyotes are gonna see and witness me going out there to help this one, because you get more than one or two of them together at the same time, you might be attacked. So anyways, I grab a hold of the doorknob and I go to turn it to pull it open. And just as I do that, I'm looking out the window and I see these two red eyes. And it's by this boulder. This boulder I remember standing next to, and it was taller than me. Okay. And it's standing behind this boulder. So this boulder had to be at least 6 foot. So this thing, whatever this thing was taller than 6 feet. And from my perspective, if it's standing behind that rock. And instantly I got this like overwhelming sense of dread, and I locked the door and I shut the light off. And as soon as I shut the light off, that coyote perked up and then ran off back down the driveway, and then went back out to the field to join its friends. And I was just like, oh. So I ran, got my rifle, I sat on the couch, and at the time I didn't know what to associate it with, but I knew I associated it with it being a demon. But that is probably one of the most scariest nights of my life. I sat on the couch for I don't know how long before I actually fell asleep, because I was scared. I was terrified. My dogs, like, once I saw the thing, my dog stopped barking too, which maybe they made infrasound. I don't know. But the more that I started hearing about dogman stories, the more I started thinking that it was a dogman. So I think that's what I think it was. I'm never going to know at this point. I didn't investigate. In fact, I think I started telling my kids not to go over to that rock wall because I was afraid. But we didn't stay there much longer. I think it was about another year before we moved out. But my other terrifying event happened in this house. Me and my girlfriend just started seeing each other, and she had left, and I was going to bed. I get up super early for work, and I think I went to bed while she was here. And so she said goodbye as I think I was in bed, but I could be wrong. Anyways, so she's gone, and I was sleeping, and I woke up to my name being called. So I thought maybe she forgot something and she came back. So I just kind of like opened my eyes and I was like, oh, I was like, she's gonna come up here. Maybe she wants to stay the night instead. And then I was groggy and I saw a woman in my doorway. There's long flowing hair, very voluptuous, was very curvy, but it was black. She was all black. It was like a silhouette almost, but there was no light behind her anyway, so it's not like an actual silhouette. I saw it. The minute I saw it, I realized that I couldn't move, and I'm like sprawled out on the bed, and my phone is right here next to me on my bed. So I'm like, my eyes dart to. I couldn't turn my head, but I could move my eyes side to side, and I saw my phone sitting over here. And so I started like wiggling my fingers, trying to like inch my arm closer to it so I could grab my phone. And as soon as I started doing that, it started walking towards me. And the way it was walking, the best way that I can describe it is like C3PO, like very stiff, robotic movement. And I was like, and I got like even more scared as once she started walking towards me. I was like, oh my gosh. I was just like frantically moving my fingers and stuff, trying to grab my phone, and I can't seem to get my hand to move. And then this thing gets to the foot of my bed and is about to looks like it's about to crawl on my bed, and then I just break out of the paralysis of move and grab my phone, light up my room, and she was gone. Nothing was there, and it was scary. So I don't know. I don't know if it was something pretending to be my girlfriend, or if it was something that wanted me to feel comfortable with it, but it couldn't quite get normalcy down enough to make me feel comfortable. And so that movement made me the way it moved. Like, so a voluptuous woman in my bedroom in the middle of the night. But if it was a stranger, that would have been scary too. I don't know. Yeah, it was really, really weird. It was really weird. I had a friend tell me that the hallway to my upstairs was really dark, like as an energy. So I've invoked the name of Jesus a few times in that hallway. And every time I do, whatever it is that I'm looking at just disappears. So I don't know. Yeah, so that's how it started. It was really slow at first. I just wanted to interview people, and the first couple episodes were terrible. So if anybody listening to this decides that they want to listen, I would recommend not the first two, at least. The first two, the first two episodes were with friends, with people that I know in real life, not people that I've met through the internet and stuff like that. But the audio was terrible, and I still was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put it out anyway." So it took about a
Absolutely.
year really before the podcast started taking off and started really getting guests more frequently. So I've been doing it. I started it in 22. So it's been 4 years now.
That's
No,
awesome.
almost 4 years.
That's great.
So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. I met a lot of people, a lot of Christians, and I've become really close with a couple of them. Doc Brown being one of them. Him and I
Yes.
have become really good friends. Drewski from where I almost said my own podcast name. From Cryptid Warfare podcast and Conspiracies. He's a Christian, and I talked to him a lot about God and stuff like that. And yeah, so I started seeing a lot of through this podcast journey, not only in my personal life, but through the podcast as well, as God has been showing up more and more in my life ever since the
Great.
podcast started. And I just feel like if that is, I've always believed anyway, but I wasn't like fully on board. I always had a belief in something bigger and more than myself, and like a creator entity. And I felt like if he's showing up now, I must be doing something right.
It's
You know what
great.
I mean? This must be the path that I'm supposed to be on. It really started with my kids, and I think the best way to get at me for any kind of reason, whether it be positive or negative, is through my children, because those are the significant things in my life.
Great.
So me and my kids decided We're going to get baptized. We're going to get baptized as Christians. So we just haven't done it yet.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for telling me your origin story. And it is interesting how one's kids can really plant a seed in the parents' hearts, like you said, good or bad, and in this case, good. And I think talking to us in the show in which we were guests on your show about how your kids have gone onto TikTok to talk about God and the Bible and everything. Tell us about that.
Yeah. All of a sudden, my son showed up at my house and he was wearing a cross around his neck. And I didn't say anything about it. I've never deterred them or forced anything. I've never been like, don't believe in that. Don't believe in this. You should believe in this. I've never been that type of parent. I've always just been, I don't know, the topic really has never come up on religion. So he showed up at my house and he's, hey, check this out. I got it on Amazon. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, do you believe in God? And he goes, yeah. And I go, oh, okay. And he goes, I even started a TikTok. And I go, really? I was like, yeah, I thought you already had a TikTok. He goes, no, this TikTok, I just share scripture. Share quotes from the Bible. And I'm like, okay. I was like, and what made you want to do that? And he goes, I don't know. He goes, I just think Jesus is the way, or something like that, to that effect. Yeah. And then I talked to his mother about it, and his mother is a Buddhist, which is not a bad thing. But at the same time, like, she's very not, I don't think she doesn't follow the religion, but she has a bunch of Buddha statues in her house.
Oh,
But
wow, interesting.
I think she is a little bit against them wanting to be Christians, to be honest with you, based off of our last conversation about it.
Wow.
But yeah, so I talked to her the next day when I was dropping the kids off with her. And she's like, I don't know where this came from. All of a sudden has a cross around his neck and he's talking about the Bible, and she goes, he even started a TikTok. And I was like, I know, he told me. He just shares God stuff. And I ended up having my kids on my podcast. I can't remember what the episode number was, but
Wow.
towards the end of the episode with them, because we were just talking about their experiences and stuff like that, which wasn't really anything. It could have been just something else, or they were seeing, like, they just caught like something out of the corner of their eye, which could be something or could not be something. And we talked about my parenting, how they felt about me as a parent and stuff like that. And towards the end, my son just started talking about how he loves Jesus. So
That's awesome. Wow. Very interesting. Now, your ex, the mom of your son, do you mind if I ask, is she Caucasian or is she Asian or?
she's white. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
do
She's
you mind if I
Greek, to
ask?
be specific.
Oh, okay, she's Greek. Oh, we have a large Greek population here in the Tarpon Springs area, and lots of names that end in ulos or something like that. And
Yeah.
I love me some Greek food for sure.
Oh yeah. Very
Interesting.
yummy.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's neat that your son has a TikTok where he just talks about the Bible and he has a large following or a following. And that's really neat that a young man is bold about his newfound faith and everything. I know, it's just say a prayer for your ex that she'd come around. And I know that sometimes it takes a long time, hopefully not, for one's friends, in your case, to come around and know the Lord. I've been praying for my dad for 30 years, and just last Father's Day, he said that he wanted to receive Jesus, and I prayed with him for the first time in 20 or 30 years. Actually, I would say since I became a Christian, like I don't say I wouldn't dare to lay a hand on my dad's shoulder or pray for him, but that was just something that I didn't feel comfortable doing because he was ambivalent. He said, "Oh, it's okay for you be a Christian, but I still Buddhist," that type of thing. But oh, that's interesting. So she's against him coming to know Jesus, but she's not really for or against. She's not like kicking him out of the house or being abusive or anything.
Right.
She's just a little bit negative about it. Yeah, I totally understand. I definitely lived that way from age 16 to 20, where he was okay with me doing kind of light things for God, but not, oh, you're too serious. You want to go to Christian Bible college and they're not going to teach you anything. That type of stuff. So I totally get it. So out of all of your podcast guests, tell me the one that, or maybe the top three that were your favorite due to whatever reason, because they were the funniest or scariest or the most just stood out for whatever reason.
That's a hard question to
I
answer,
know.
but
Sorry for putting you on the spot.
it's all right. I know. So I was thinking about this the other day. I do think I enjoy. I can't remember the episode number, but the gentleman's name is Nick Valente. He's a cop out of New York, or used to be a cop. He's
That one.
retired now. Yeah,
That was a good show. Great show.
it was. It was is really interesting, and he had a terrifying story of a dogman encounter
Ooh.
out. I believe it was in New York as well, because he lives in Florida now as a retiree, which all old people go to Florida.
You're right. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, he found a little child's tricycle flipped over, and he said not too far from it was this creature. He had a big Jeep, jacked up Jeep with lights all over the place. He turned all the lights on and everything. He could see it, and it turned and looked right at him. He was probably about 10 yards away from the thing, and it scared him. And he called a bunch of his military buddies, because he was just doing training. He was coming from training, and they all met him there. And I'm not saying that something happened to a child out there, but there was a tricycle. I didn't see any blood or anything, but either way, that to see a creature like that and then a child's tricycle tipped over off the side of the road is goosebump worthy. And so
Disturbing.
yeah, so he's known a bunch of people who've had encounters, and he shared some of that stuff as well.
Wow, interesting.
Um,
So there was a creature that mounted the tricycle? Yeah. Or was it a child that mounted the tricycle and then looked at him?
so they didn't get on the tricycle. It was
Oh, I
a
see.
little bit past the tricycle. Was
Oh,
this dogman creature in, I guess, the wood line of the woods on the cusp of the road there. And he saw the tricycle first, and he stopped to get out to investigate, and then that's when he saw the creature in a separate area, but not far from.
oh, wow. So
So
it may have, so maybe they were intertwined. Maybe the dog man, because they feed on fear, a lot of times they might have that telepathic or telekinesis, and to move, maybe it moved the tricycle, perhaps. Wow, that is creepy. That is really creepy. Definitely goosebump worthy for sure. I'll have
absolutely,
to re-listen to
absolutely,
that. And he
yeah.
has a book, doesn't he, Nick Valente?
It's either coming out, or he already has one. Yeah, one or the other.
Oh,
I can't
oh,
remember.
interesting. Oh, and he,
But yeah, he's my most listened to, viewed pod episode of my entire podcast.
that's interesting. What would you say would be the one that stuck with you the most in terms of, I don't know, it could be spiritual truth, it could be just something maybe you didn't know before? Because I know that we swim in these spaces and we're pretty familiar with a lot of these different cryptid stories and whatever. But was there a podcast where you listened to it and you're like, I never heard of that before this person told me?
That's cute. I don't know. There's been a whole lot of mind blowing.
Oh, yes, definitely. It's hard to pick
Here
one.
and there. But nothing that really. Everybody that's shared with me new things that I didn't know. I don't know. It's hard to say which one was because they all stick with me, really.
Yes.
But I don't know. I would say, though, that one of my recent episodes, he didn't share anything with me that I didn't know, So his name's Joey Garcia, and he was a listener, and then he started reaching out to me, and then he emailed me his testimony, and I have never cried with somebody that I didn't know as hard as I did. And you don't
Wow.
hear it or anything, but his story has stuck with me the most, I think, out of everybody that has been on. He was ready to take himself out, and then he was just sitting on the side of a riverbank because he thought that after he did it, he would fall into the river and be swept away. That way his body would never be found, and this and that. And all of a sudden he heard the voice of God, and he called his
Awesome.
wife, and she came and picked him up. First, so he decided to crawl out of the woods, and didn't know where he was, and he came out to a road, and one of the park rangers happened to be right there. And she asked him if he was okay, if he needed help, and he goes, can I borrow your cell phone? And so he used her phone to call his wife to come get him. And then the woman told him that she usually never comes out to this part of the park at night. She usually has already come through at this point.
Wow.
And so he just felt like it was the grace of God that was showing him that there was a better way. And so he's been fighting himself to stick around for his daughter, because he had some traumatic experiences from the military, and he was special forces.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing how not only he felt that God was intervening in sparing his life or preventing him from taking his life by speaking to his heart, and then also sending this park ranger where she normally doesn't go a second time. And she even said that she normally doesn't go a second time to that remote area. And so they both felt like that some sort of divine intervention there. That's interesting. I listened to that show. That does sound familiar too.
Yeah, I think it's 222. I think that's the episode number of that.
Wow, awesome. I give you a hats off, and I applaud you very much that you've made it to 222 episodes, because Michael and I had talked in recent years that, or actually just recently, that a lot of podcasters, I would say 90% of them, I don't know the real statistic, but I did hear a majority of podcasters after 10 or 20 episodes, they quit, because it does take a lot out of you. There's a lot of commitment when you're cranking out 1 or 2 a week. In your case, I used to do that. It was crank out 1 or 2 a week, but I had to reprioritize some things with my husband and my health and everything. So now I'm only just doing once a month. So congratulations, you're my November monthly guest. And then I've got Jen Parks for December, just because I got to do some other things aside from podcasting. But I really give you applause with your perseverance. 222 episodes. I think we're at this point, I think cumulatively in the last 10 years since I started podcasting, I probably maybe in my 150s, but in terms of Crossfalls podcasts, we're probably upper 60s or 70s or something like that. I actually took the numerical episodes off because I had to take a couple of them down. It's a long story, but there was some drama with one of them. Actually, 2 of them, so I had to take them down. So that then it totally messes up the numerical order if you've got to take 1 or 2 down.
Yeah.
But I totally applaud you for persevering and getting the message out there and stuff like that. Oh, interesting.
Thank you.
It's hard to narrow down, okay, this was the one that stuck out the most, because all of our guests, me being a podcaster for 10 years and you being one for 3. And so even though you've been doing it for 3 years, you probably have more episodes than I do, just because I've gone through some different things with health and had to cease for probably around 2 years or so cumulatively. There was one time, I would say October 2018, and I had to pause because we moved, and I had a hard time finding a job in this country town. And then we moved to the city area in Orlando, and then I started podcasting in May 2020. and different health things with my husband and with me, and have to on and off, on and off. So I wish that I would have the solidarity to crank one out every week and everything, but I know my husband likes to plan things, and if my podcasting gets in the way, it could cause some friction. But
I
anyway,
hear
so
you.
I give you hats off for sure.
Thank you.
What would you say was the funniest one? Like one that you would just died laughing almost, like one that you were just had such a great rapport with them that both of you are just laughing all the time throughout.
So there's been a few, but I guess I'll have to go with the most recent one, which was with Juliet and Lisa from Cryptid Women's Society. Number one, they both talk so much, which obviously as a podcaster hosting, as a podcast host, that's what you want, right?
Yes.
You love people that aren't afraid to talk. And it's sometimes when you get the people that are just like short answers and stuff like that, you're like, and you have to work on your interviewing skills a lot more. The ones that you don't have to really do that with are so much fun to begin with, but they were
Yes.
so humorous. They had me cracking up so much, and it helped that they had New Zealand accents. So everything sounded funny to begin with, just because it's different. But it's not
Right.
like that it's a bad accent or anything. I actually really enjoy listening
It's lovely.
yeah, I love listening to different accents and stuff. And there's several different accents just in America alone. So getting to know them, listening to their stories and how fun they are, and they just had me cracking up the whole time. I think the episode is 2 hours long, and time
Wow.
just flew by. It was wild. It was awesome.
That's
And
awesome.
that for your listeners, that episode would be 227.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
that's
I actually would
literally
listen
the
to that.
latest one. That's literally the latest one. And then there's one that 228 comes out tomorrow.
Okay, great. Can't wait to listen to the latest one, 228. And I'm about 3/4 of the way with the Cryptid Women's Society, 227. And I've really enjoyed listening to them and your banter with them. And it is neat to talk to people from all around the world, because some, like you said, different accents and different intonations and emphasis on different syllables, and just the way they say certain words that we might say, they say a little differently. And they were animated, and it was interesting to hear their stories. And it's neat that they have an angle just towards women, because I think in this space that we walk in, a lot of times that who are into conspiracy or cryptids or spirituality or Christianity, they tend to be, I would say, maybe 60 to 70% men, but there's a lot of women that are interested in this too. And I think a lot of times when you think of women podcasters or women content creators, at least I do. I know about 10 to 15 years ago, women were just there to talk about health and how to lose weight and how to put on makeup and things of that nature. But for a woman to talk about otherworldly entities and creatures that most people don't see, it's a little different. Oh, looks like my podcast partner in crime is about to enter the room, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Basham is here. Michael Bash.
Hey, are you there?
Hello.
Hi. Sorry, I'm
How are you doing?
just using audio. I'm doing good. Just got the kids, and
Awesome.
wifey went to San Diego to take care of mother-in-law,
Yes, we
and we're
pray
in the
for her.
mountains. Thank you so much. How are you doing? Looking great.
Thank you.
We're trusting for miracles. Yeah, I'll let you
Yes.
know later. It's just
Yes, keep us updated. We'll
Yeah.
keep her in our prayers and thoughts for sure. What's
Yes.
your mother-in-law's first name?
Sandra.
Sandra. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll keep
Yes.
Sandra in prayer for sure. We actually prayed for her right before the podcast, in fact. So we wanted
Oh,
to
really?
pray for the podcast, pray for you and your family and your mother-in-law and things like that. I definitely
Thank you.
understand having health issues in the family. It really affects oneself. And if you have health issues, of course it affects you for sure as well. But between my husband and me, we both have health issues. That's why I was explaining to Kevin that I'm not able to trick out one a week like I used to. But I give you and Kevin hats off for doing a podcast weekly, or in Michael's case, he goes live like almost every night, like 2 or 3 times, 4 times a week. So I definitely give you hats off for sure. So welcome, Michael. And so Kevin is giving us his story. He gave us his story. And now he's talking about the podcast episodes that he did that were the most remarkable. Even though he likes and loves them all, he wanted to highlight some that really stuck with him. Michael, I'll just give you the floor, even though you're on the phone and not using video. But go.
Oh, I can use video.
What you will.
I just had to get my makeup on.
We get to see your face now.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you and see you. Yeah. So comb her hair with your hands. There. I won't believe that's all that guys have to do is just brush their teeth, comb their hair. You know, we shave the legs and paint the toenails. Yeah, gotta wax the eyebrows and the mustache, highlight the hair. We don't have to do those things, but we sometimes prefer to do that. But please go ahead and ask Kevin what you will, comment what you will. You have the floor, my friend.
Oh, yeah, Kevin, nice to meet you. I don't know if does he have his video on or no? Anyway, great to see you. Great to know you. Yeah. And how are you?
Fantastic. It's good to see you.
Oh, hey, nice to see you, man. Oh, great. Yeah, wow. What a wonderful time. Last time we got to speak, I just felt such a presence. That was such a special day. And I have a prayer team and we really prayed for that broadcast to go well and for you. And I just felt such a supernatural connection, just things that God is doing in all of our lives right now. So that was unforgettable time. Did you change your studio or is that the same way it was?
It's the same way it was. It's just a little darker now because it was darker earlier.
Yeah. Daylight savings time. Great.
Yeah.
What's the latest news? What's on your radar from one star captain to another? What are you reading on your chart, sir?
The chart is reading that. So recent news. So when you were on my show, we were talking about how my kids had helped me come to know Jesus a little bit. And I've been accepting him more in my heart. The three of us decided that we're going to get baptized. And I've been talking to a church here in the area. So that's one of the most recent things. And there's a little bit of pushback from mom, but it's like she wants good things for the kids. And so that's what's important to her. So she's not going to fight them about it, but she doesn't really care for religion in general.
Gotcha. What's mom's name? So we can be praying for her.
Her name is
Alexandra. Strong name for a woman. Obviously, there's a will to my wife too, Jennifer. It comes in handy when needed. Otherwise, yeah, gotta let them use their motherly instincts, and it's all done in. I feel like they mean well. They're not trying to be manipulative all the time like we might think.
I agree.
Wow, that's such an exciting. To me, you are a bellwether and an indicator of so many people who have your story with the mushroom people was so it's ingrained in my head now. These little mushroom people and all the different things that we both are interested in, but getting into the word and going through it's humbling to be presenting yourself to a church and going through this whole process. And it's humbling for us. We're podcasters. We know things you could possibly never know. You would never understand. But this is something that is, if I may dare say so, did bigger than just gathering information. The eternal soul, like in my family, we're facing some certain death situations, like looking over the precipice. And there is nothing more important than your eternal soul, like nothing. Any aliens could be showing up and AI could be taking over and all, which they are.
Yeah.
Find out what chemtrails are, all that stuff.
Yeah. And then the weird things that 3i Atlas is doing and all that.
Tell us about that though. This is how much I've been fasting from the internet. I don't even know the latest about it.
So apparently it's supposed to be a comet. And there's been two before it. And the tail is in front of it. And the tail should be behind it. So it's going forward like it has headlights. So it went by Mars and I guess it like turned in a way which doesn't seem natural for a comet. And then I think right now it's behind the sun, and it's supposed to be coming back and should be coming right by Earth to the point that we could, if it's a clear night, when it comes by, I think the first week of December, we should be able to see it coming by.
Okay.
So if it is not a comet and an actual cruiser, maybe it'll land. I don't know. But right now it's behind the sun. So we don't know what it's doing. We can't see it.
Okay. Thanks for that update. It's good to know, what our interstellar visitors are up to.
Yeah. Apparently have you ever heard of the Golden Note?
No, sir. Please elaborate.
So they launched the Golden Note during Jimmy Carter's presidency.
Okay.
And it holds a whole bunch of stuff about the different cultures on Earth and stuff like that. A whole bunch of historical stuff inside of it.
Okay.
And it has recorded all of the different languages on Earth saying hello and hi and stuff like that, like greetings and all this. And apparently it is billions of light years away, but we are still receiving transmissions for it. And I was like, and I remember, so they launched it, I think when was Jimmy Carter president, in the 70s?
Yeah, around then, I think.
Yeah. So that it was about,
yeah.
it's about that time. It was so it should have been launched in the 70s, but we're still receiving transmissions from it, which I was like, man, I wish my Wi-Fi would work that good. So it's interesting. So they're saying that maybe that Golden Note might be calling other entities to Earth, and that might be what 3i Atlas is.
So the 3i Atlas is possibly like a hello from another star system, is what
Possibly
some of the hypotheses. Okay, interesting. Yeah, we better get ready for this, because I'm always like, we're dealing with things that are way beyond. Even my astronomy professor used to get angry with me. I had this French astronomy professor. Oh, Michael, I see you are very well studied in these conspiracies. And I couldn't help it. I was researching this stuff like all the time back in the heyday of the internet, 2012 through 2014. And you can go back and research Comet Elenin. All the podcasts from 2010, 11 were just buzzing about this comet Elenin. And it was definitely a spaceship, and there were all these lights following it. It might have actually been, but nothing happened. All the things you're like, okay. But I was so interested in this. I was like 29 or 30. And I really angered him. And when he failed me, he's like, Michael, I am not failing you because of your interest in these conspiracies, but because you failed to complete some of my assignments. So I look back though, and one thing he said that really stuck with me is just the stuff that we know that is confirmed is so amazing and mysterious that even if all the conspiracies weren't true, there's still so much to get excited about in the universe that's unknown. And I was like, whatever. But now I see the validity in his point, and I still wish he'd looked at some of my research. So I was good back then. Like, I had a lot of time in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Everything, like Mars has air, and there's caves full of people, and just all the UFO stuff, all the footage before AI, like internet golden era. Nowadays,
when
I don't know.
Pictures were real.
Exactly. And there were real legit UFO sightings and experiencers. And back then we had alien abductees all the time. We've had some on the show. Have you come across any like abductee testimonies in your adventures on your star maps, Captain?
Yes, I have. He was on the show. You might probably know him. His name's Tony Rodriguez.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Rings a bell.
Yeah. So he was abducted and worked for the intergalactic something or other. I can't remember how he explained it, but he lived for 20 years. He was abducted when he was 12, 10 or something like that. He was young.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We talked to him. Tony Rodriguez, the 20 and
Yeah.
back program.
20
Of
and back,
course.
yeah.
Sorry.
So
He
it
is
was
really
He's
interesting.
got a great
That
story.
is really
he does.
yeah.
It's a really great story. I didn't know it at the time, but when I had him on the show, his story has already been out there in circulation, and had been talking about it, and I didn't know it. So I had him share it. He didn't rush through it, but it was more of because I've listened back to some of his other podcasts that he's been on, and he's definitely expounded on a lot of his story. So when he was on my show, it was a little bit of a shorter version, but still interesting. And then I had another woman. Her name is Valerie LaFaso, and she doesn't remember it, but it's more like a regression memory, like it came back to her at some point. But she remembered it as her dad pulling over on the side of the road, and he told her to stay in the car, and she remembers staying in the car. But apparently, her memory came back to her as either through regression therapy or something. Somehow she received the memory back that she got out of the car because there was a spaceship in the road, and her dad was investigating it and told her to stay in the car, but she didn't. She got out, and she ended up playing with they were small, gray. Well, I think she said they were gray. She might have said they were green, but either way, they were about the same size as her as a child. And she just remembers being playful with them, and they didn't seem negative or anything. And then they just left, and that's all she really remembers.
Okay.
Wow. Did she
So
describe what they looked like?
Yeah, she said not really. She basically just said they were small. She might have, and I'm just not remembering it correctly. But I remember her saying they were about the same size. My immediate thought is the small grays. But so technically she wasn't abducted, but they did allow her onto the ship.
We interviewed back in the day Howard Storm, long time ago, and he had a trip to hell, and then he went to heaven, and he used to be really making the rounds back in the days, like 2017, when we did a show with him. And he's probably, his testimony is definitely out there on the internet, but he basically went to heaven, and because he was an atheist before, he didn't have that religious kind of filter. He just started asking Jesus all these questions about everything. And when it came to aliens, the Lord told him and introduced him to aliens, according to him. He's a pastor. He's not even like a big conspiracy guy. He just has this testimony, and we've been quoting it for years in old internet circles. But he basically, what the Lord showed him, and he's like, "We're not aliens, Lord," because he's in heaven. He's just asking Lord anything. And so suddenly there's this parade of beings approaching them. And the first ones look human, and then they start having gradual different features, kind of like Star Trek aliens. They saved money with low budget. They just did makeup-y things. And then they started getting gradually weirder, and like undersea creatures and insects. And he's like, "Whoa, okay, Lord, okay, I get it." And what the Lord told him, Howard Storm, was that indeed there are aliens, the space is full of life, and that the Lord Jesus himself engages and goes around and is indeed somehow engaging with these different worlds and these different species as the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords and the Son of God and the creator of all heaven and earth. Of course, his government extends everywhere, but that the aliens that are showing up here, they're trespassers. Like, none of them are allowed to be here. All of them, this planet is the Lord's footstool. It's off limits. So anytime people engage with aliens here, or all that channeling Pleiades or whatever, all the silly stuff, it's like always demonic and always bad. But there's stuff off world that's like kosher. Anyway, that was I'm not quoting it perfectly. That's just something that stuck with us for a long time. It's worth checking out. Howard Storm. If anybody can find that testimony, but here it is today. You're hearing it now on Cross Files. And if Kevin decides to post our show, yeah, That was for, and I should give credit because that was Daniel Lovett on the Sozo Talk Radio show. So
Oh, okay.
if you ever decide to keep podcasting, I know so many podcasters that have given up throughout the years.
Yeah, I've not,
Yeah.
the short time that I've been doing it, there's been a few that I became friends with that are no longer doing it too, which kind of stinks because some of them were pretty good.
Any
Right.
that we can check out just to memorialize their work, even if they, or you better not.
She might come back. One of them that I really enjoyed listening to, she might be coming back, but it's been almost a year, I think. And so her podcast is One Nothing, and it's a true crime,
Okay.
bizarre deaths, and animal attacks. So each
wow.
episode's different. So you'll have a true crime story, then it'll be an animal attack, and then it'll
Okay.
be a bizarre death, like crazy. I can't believe that happened like that. And
Wow.
Okay.
every 10 episodes, she does a survivor story. So a survivor from an animal attack will come on and tell their story about how they survived. And one of them was a shark attack, survived a shark attack. Somebody
Wow.
survived a hippo attack, and somebody survived a crocodile attack.
Oh my
Jeez.
gosh. That's interesting.
Man.
Yeah. So she had a pretty good head of steam for her podcast, and then all of a sudden it stopped. She stopped.
If it was too much trauma, just tell her that I actually jumped in a shark tank in China, but the only thing that attacked me was a little sea turtle that nibbled on my toe. So if she wants, I mean, I could build it up like shark tank attack, but it'll be actually, for record, a sea turtle attack. It surprised me. I jumped in this shark tank full of sand tiger sharks, 11 sand tiger sharks with all the jagged
Wow.
teeth.
Yeah.
It was for a TV show in China. It was, anyway, long story. But I'll never
Well, the
forget
Chinese have
stepping in and
intersections.
this little sea turtle. I was like, wow, what was that? Oh, that is hilarious.
That is hilarious.
But
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
I'm only doing this because, frankly, without Geraldine's help and arranging the time and the scheduling and juggling everything, like, no way I would have time to do actual interview podcasts right now with everything that's going on. The last interview I did was in studio we're working with a lot of people in the mountains, and we're promoting local farmers selling beef. People can buy beef through us and support the podcasts and the studio and local farmers. And we're still getting that set up, but I did a show with Courtney about that. So that was fun on Spirit Force.
Okay.
That was just very off the cuff. Like it was not at the level of Cross Files, no editing. It was just like, hi, come in the studio. And we just talked, and she didn't share any of the fun, weird ghost stories. Like you could probably interview her. She was very polite and very responsible, very like controlled, self-controlled and subdued in a way. And it was her first podcast. And after she was like, finally started telling me all the interesting stories after we turned off the microphones. Just like,
I know. I totally get that when that happens,
Yeah.
for sure. And funny that you said that, oh, it wasn't the level of Cross Files podcast. To be honest with you, sometimes I think that it's not worth it. And sometimes when I want to crank out an episode the very next day, like for example, the episode that we did with Chaplain Steve Dabbs, we interviewed him the day before Halloween. And I wanted it to be
Right.
published on Halloween. And I was like, I just want to get this out on for Halloween. And because I really think that he was touching about these occult subjects and how people get demonized. They're doing occultic things on Halloween. I just wanted to crank them puppy out. And I did. When I got home, it was like the last 10% I needed to finish before I got home. So it's really crazy, Kevin and Michael, because I normally, just like Kevin does, he does a lot of great editing for his show. I'll take the most hard-hitting spots, like 2 minutes worth or 3 minutes worth, and make a little video or short video out of it and stick that in the beginning of the show and put all these edits in or whatever. But there were no edits on really anything. I did remove the ums and the uhs and little phrases that were extraneous, and that was it. But yeah, and I think Mike Stintz also has that same philosophy because he would spend hours on a 1 hour show he does like pro editing, and he's forget it. I'm just gonna just crank it out and publish it
Right.
and everything. But yeah, I wish that there was some sort of happy medium I could find between really like putting like 4 hours in for every 1 hour of a show, versus just plainly pasting it. Kevin, tell us your techniques. Like, how do you balance your life? I know you're busy. You got 2 kids, is that right? And you have a girlfriend, and you're working and stuff like that. How do you crank out these shows once or twice every week and then balance your family life? Tell us about that.
It was a lot easier before the baby. I will say that. So it's as soon as the baby was born, the two a week stopped. I went right from 2 right back to one a week. But so yeah, I do most of my editing late at night, which late for me is right now. Because I wake
Right.
up at 1:30 in the morning, and I leave the house between 2 and 2:30 to get to work by 3. So I work from 3 to 3 usually. On really
Wow.
good days, if I'm fast enough and I can get my stuff done, I can be done anywhere between noon to 2 o'clock. And that'll give me time for the gym. And then I can get home and I have some time with my daughter before mom gets done with work, because mom works from home. So I basically try and occupy the baby so that mom can finish up her stuff. And then I'll sometimes come down here and I'll edit. Like, I'm usually Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday is when I do most of my editing. Sometimes I'll do it early in the morning on a Saturday or a Sunday too. But so I got my show. I am producing another show called David Don't Know, that's hosted by David Salinas. And then I have a third podcast that I am a co-host of, which is the Real Verdict podcast. And we talk about movies. So we kind of review and dissect a movie every Monday. And that one has been a lot of fun because I love cinema. And I also, so I work about 10 to 12 hours a week,
Oh, wow.
edit. My editing isn't that, like, I throw the music and stuff in there and stuff, but usually the actual episode, unless my guest is like, hey, can you like take that out of there or
Right.
whatever, I usually don't do anything. It's all the ums and everything over there. I just download it and I slap it on. I'll find the like you were saying, like a little piece of it. And that happened. I started doing that recently to
Right.
like, when new viewers or new listeners come on, they're hearing a piece of an interesting story and then they're like, I want to hear more about it. So I
Right.
started doing that the past 10 episodes, I think I started doing that.
Cool.
So yeah, it's not easy by any means. It's been a lot of fun regardless.
Fun. That's awesome.
Sometimes there's a little chair right here. I'll sit my daughter in it too, and she'll sit here and watch me edit.
Well, that's great. That's good. And congratulations on your baby. And her name is Charlie, right?
Charlie, yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's such a cute name. And I go by Jeri. And so sometimes people will say, that's a boy's name or that's a man's name. And I'll say, no, not the way I spell it, which is Jeri. The people that are quote old school and think, oh, Jeri is Jerry. It's always male. So I think Charlie is such a cute name. And I love like little unigender names, unisex names like that. So
I grew
that's
up with a
awesome.
Geraldine.
You did? With the
Yeah,
same spelling? Or was it
yeah,
Jerry
she's
Lynn?
it. No, it was the same exact spelling as yours, and we called her Jeri.
Really?
Jeri. Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's interesting. I've seen other Geraldines on Facebook and different venues, website venues. And I'm like, should I reach out to them? Is it going to be weird? And one time I did reach out to these other Geraldines and say, hey, we should have some sort of annual get together of all the Geraldines. But the spelling is different. So neat. So now when I left for a moment, did Michael ask you about your favorite conspiracy? If not, I'll ask that.
No, you didn't.
I
but
didn't. I did not. That's a very good question, though.
Okay, Mr.
He's
Kevin.
rich. He's wealthy. My parents did I would say with his outrageous country would say, you're very well versed in the conspiracy. And I wish you would have asked
Michael
me
can do voices.
I wish
Michael
you
can
would
do
have
all
asked me
kinds
this
of
question.
voices and impressions.
Yeah.
All right, Mr.
That's
Kevin.
amazing.
Yes.
Impression. But
Yes.
so one of my favorite ones that I love talking about is flat Earth. Not necessarily that I believe it. I just really talking about it. All the different aspects that go into it, the history of it, like with Nazi Germany and Admiral Byrd, and stuff like that. So like Admiral Byrd went up to Antarctica, found a Nazi base, and then was met in the air with alien aircrafts technically that had swastikas printed on the sides of them, on the wings and stuff like that. And they came out of the water, and then they escorted him to this part in Antarctica where there was no snow and there was greens
Ooh,
and
wow,
people,
interesting.
plants and stuff like that. And apparently there's a wall going around us and stuff like, and there's more land. And I don't know if I believe that. I'm not 100%. But I like to talk about it. I'm pretty sure that the world is a sphere, but it would be interesting if the earth was flat. That's why I like to talk about it. And there's so many people out there that believe it's flat and will want to talk about it. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I've
good
talked
that you're
about it
open.
several times.
Back in the heyday of podcasts and conspiracy and research, and there was no flat earth at all. There was like zero. Like flat earth is a completely new thing from 2015. I've actually talked to the guy, Mark
Really?
Sargent, who was one of the spearheaders for it. Very humble guy, because I was mocking it. Like I was
Mhm.
like, you young whippersnappers, you don't know what you're talking about with all these conspiracies. We know what we're doing. Like the conspiracy you're talking about, which isn't really a conspiracy, it's documented.
Yeah.
Admiral Byrd is, I believe, isn't that hollow Earth? Like it wouldn't necessarily be flat Earth so much as the fact that the Earth is hollow. And we were already researching that and really fascinated with it. And then we were all annoyed when the flat Earth quote unquote thing came in, hijacked everything, hijacked 9/11, hijacked aliens, hijacked hollow Earth, hijacked everything, and made
Mhm.
everything about flat Earth. And it was like, how does everything tie into flat Earth? It was like, no, dude, bro, it's all about everybody's just, it's all, the Earth's flat, it's the whole thing. So it's fun to look back, and I think it's losing steam now. I don't see as much on social media about flat Earth. But what do you think about that?
Yes, you're right. So the whole Admiral Byrd thing was more of like a hollow earth thing, but the ice wall that he talked about is gave the flat earth stuff more of a talking point, because if we could get past that ice wall, there'd be maybe more land, which I do think is a really cool idea for maybe a story, that there's more land. I would like it. That'd be cool if we could have some kind of, I guess, evidence of somebody going over this quote unquote ice wall. But I do find a lot of certain things interesting that go along with like flat Earth, is the fact that we see the same constellations every night. And I know the sky is space is so vast. So when, because I'm up so early in the morning, and there's a lot of times where I get to, when I'm at work, every once in a while, I'll look up at the sky. And I made it a point to get to this certain point every day for a week straight and look up at the sky. And the constellations were in the same spot almost every time. Maybe they might have shifted a little bit, but they were always in the same spot. I could see. So when I stood there and I stood straight and I looked up just a little bit, I could see Orion's belt. And then I would turn my head just like this. And then had the little dipper and the big dipper here. And I was just like, why is it in the same spot all the time? If not only are we spinning, but we're also going around the sun, wouldn't that throw some of these off a little bit more? But so that's something that I found interesting. Not saying that it proves or disproves a sphere or flat earth or anything like that, but I always just thought it was super super weird. And the
It
hollow
is.
earth, though, the hollow earth
Yeah.
is, I love that. I enjoy that as well, just because there's so many stories about, even Christopher Columbus wrote about it in his journal, about
Ooh.
these crafts coming up out of the water.
What? Christopher
Yeah.
Columbus wrote about that?
Christopher Columbus wrote about it in his journal. he didn't use like UFO language. He just said this thing came out of, like, he basically just said something came out of the water and into the sky.
That's fascinating. I have heard of Admiral Byrd's story, and the first time I heard it was through Just in the Fall on the Fourth Watch Radio. And if you check out his stuff, I think you'll really love his stuff. And he's the OG of podcasters, next to Michael Basham, of course. I'm sure when Justin Paul started podcasting, but I think Justin and Michael probably had given birth to podcasting around the same time. I'm not sure. But Justin has some really interesting videos that are on Vimeo, and one of them is The Hollow Earth. And he does talk about Admiral Byrd's findings and how he had seen everything that you mentioned, like even woolly mammoths. And there was an area in Antarctica, or is it Antarctica? Anyway, there was an area where there was no snow, and that there was the opening into the hollow earth. And excuse me, some people actually believe that the books by Jules Verne, Journey to the Center of the Earth, and a few other books, that those are actually fact in fiction. Like, he's made it a fictional story, but there's facts that back up the story. And I thought, an interesting take on it, for sure. As flat Earth, I still do believe in a globe Earth, but like you said, it would be interesting if it was a flat Earth. Sometimes I think that it could divide people. Like, I know that some hardcore flat earthers or some hardcore globe people, that they start arguing about that. I'm like, what a great fest to be the body of Christ. Why are we arguing about this? And it's great to discuss, but I know that there's some people that have unfriended each other just because someone's a flat earther and somebody's a globe earther or whatever. And I also believe in the heliocentric model of the globe going around the sun. And I know that Mike Heiser, Dr. Heiser, God rest his soul, that he is also a globe earther too. And he was saying that the Bible is not meant to be necessarily something that is supposed to show the cosmology of the universe. But the Bible writers were talking about it from their vantage point. They see the sun go up, they see the sun go down. And they see the sun rise in the east and set in the west. And so they had the cosmology of a flat earth, 4 quarters, and the sun going around the earth. So that would be the globe-centric model or something. I'm not sure if I'm using the right language, but it is definitely an interesting subject for sure. And I've had different people like come at me and say, "Oh, Jeri, they're lying to us. NASA's lying to us. You're not a flat earther. You're not even a Christian." I've had people insinuate that to me. And I'm like, look, man or woman, I'm not going to argue with you about this. We can still be Christians and not discuss the earth. As Justin Ani Brown says in the Southern accent, it could be a hot dog. It could be like the shape of a hot dog. But I don't care because this can be a divisive subject.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. But yeah, I think it's great to discuss for sure. That's neat that happens to get your goat.
I've had so many different conversations about it. And there's bigger problems in the world than figuring out if the earth is actually flat or not.
Absolutely.
But like I said, it is absolutely fascinating to discuss, but there's so many factions that have to go into that to work as a lie. You know what I mean? But the one thing that also could lend credence to a hollow earth too. Have you ever seen the movie Meg? The Meg?
Yes.
The big shark. Okay,
movie.
so you know how they have that part where the bigger sea creatures are underneath it and they can only come through like a thermal thing or something like that. Anyways, so that a thing like that was actually found in the 90s or early 2000s. A gentleman had a submarine and he comes across this thing and it looks like a lake underneath the water. And he's bouncing off of it. There's a video of it and everything. You can see it looks like a lake. It looks like water underneath water.
Interesting.
And so that's where that idea comes from, is the fact that maybe we could somehow get through there and maybe there's a whole nother world in there. Who knows? Is it more water or is it dry? Or will be coming up like in King Kong, or you come through the hole and then you're on another side in another world. But he was killed in a helicopter in a helicopter accident shortly after he released that video.
Really?
Wow. That's fascinating. It's interesting how these truthers get offed deleted, killed, whatever you want to say, because they have come out with something controversial that the powers that should be want to have snuffed. And just a lot of disinfo out there that when a truther comes out and says, oh, there's a hollow earth because of this and that, the powers that should be trying to take them out. And in his case, probably took him out. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's very interesting.
And you remember the submarine that imploded not too long ago too?
No, tell us about that.
Yeah,
So it was a little submarine. It was called the Titan or something like that, and it had four people on it, and it imploded. They went missing first, and then the army, as we heard, like a ting, and then they ended up finding it imploded. So there was a gentleman that was on that. It was a bunch of rich people, but there was a gentleman that was on that submarine who was a computer analyst, and he worked for a company that changed information on the internet. This was during, when the submarine went. This was shortly after all the stuff about COVID and all that stuff. He was somebody that could change information that you are finding on the internet about certain subjects.
So like a fake news officer or
kind of,
like that. Okay.
Yeah, so he could run programs and like change. So you can find so much information to say something is good, but also at the same time find so much information on the internet to say something's bad. Like coffee's good for you. You can find a whole bunch of information that'll say coffee's great for you. And then on the other hand, you can also look up, is coffee bad for you? And it'll give you a bunch of information about coffee being bad for you. So it's like that same kind of thing. But he was literally, he had the knowledge and wherewithal to be able to change complete internet information.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
So maybe he knew things that, and perhaps they figured he was about to defect or something. He could have been a dangerous whistleblower and something like that. Who knows? But that's interesting. That's a very interesting point. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, right after it happened, I researched everybody that was on it, in that submarine. And when I first heard them going underneath there, going down there, I was like, they're going to go find that lake and they're going to try and go through it. But because they were supposedly going to look at the Titanic, which there's been so many submarines that have gone to the depths of the Titanic and they didn't implode, but this one did. So
yeah, it is pretty suspicious. And it's interesting how everybody forgot about that now. That's why it's good that we're doing a podcast. Yes, of course. That's why this is so important. You guys, like listening audiences too. This is precious. If you're listening to this, wherever you are, and please can subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to Crossfiles and all the things. Give all of us good reviews. And I don't know if Kevin's going to repost this or not, but if he does, make sure that you just go in there and do your due diligence to give 5 stars in a review, because that helps fight against the algorithms, because the internet is becoming AI and they're trying to bury real people like us.
Yes.
I'm from like the old days of the internet. I know how done seen things and blogging and research before AI. Like you have no idea what the internet was like before AI. It was so pure. There was so much you could do and find immediately. And now with people wading through stuff and all the fake videos and bored people and elderly people too, like just scrolling through, and this is so important. This conversation is going to be very helpful and useful for researchers in the future that are looking at such as Hollow Earth and submarines and your work, Kevin. So please don't give up, sir. I know you have kids. I've got kids in the next, usually I don't do this. I'm usually in the studio, but with things in my family right now, I've got to be juggling the children. I will not miss a Crossfiles episode. Not if Geraldine arranged it, everything, unless it's like hell is freezing over. I will not miss, because it is so important. This is life or death material, especially obviously the gospel. But yeah, just keep going, sir. Like anything else that comes to mind. We're going all over the place, but it's fun to shoot in the hip sometimes.
Yes.
I mean, your shows, you have a focused topic, but I'm not against flat earthers. I've stayed up till 4 a.m. with a flat earther in Honolulu, Hawaii. Just, okay, show me the flashlight proof. Dude, here's a paper plate, and I'm going to shine this flashlight over it. He like pokes holes in the paper plate. I'm like, okay, dude. But I'm interested in people's souls getting saved. So whatever. I love you, dude. Whatever. But, yeah,
it's funny too, because there's so many people in the conspiracy truther community that will alienate other people just because they might believe in everything that you believe, but they don't believe in one of them. And you're like, and it doesn't matter which one it is. And you're like, you need to believe in all of these conspiracies and all of these things that I'm telling you that I believe, or else you can't be a part of the group. And I'm just, everybody comes from a different, and this goes into my stance on politics too. Everybody comes from a different background. Everybody has different life experiences. We're not all going to agree on every single thing. That's just not going to happen.
Absolutely. For sure. Right. It is interesting that within the conspiracy space, obviously there's people that are not Christian, not believers. They're believers in something, but not Christianity. And we share this space together. But I've seen like sometimes the division between people that believe in conspiracy and not Christian. And then they say, oh, the Christians are hijacking the conspiratorial topics or whatever. I saw a review on somebody's excellent podcast, and that person was like, gave it a 1 star. This is a very good podcast. And this person that was a reviewer was like, oh, you Christians are hijacking our conspiracy stuff. You know what? Why don't you just make it normal? Why don't you just make it just regular and secular or whatever? And I've had several podcaster Christian friends that have had people come at them and verbally abuse them or whatever, but just say rude things or whatever. And it's, why can't we just all get along? Why can't we just share this space together? I mean, to concentric circles, like secular people, which we all were at one point, and the Christians, we share these circles coming together. We share the middle, which is conspiratorial topics, but except the Christians talk about it from maybe a biblical perspective or faith-based perspective, and they talk about usually from evolutionary or atheistic or agnostic perspective and whatever. And I come against them. It's fine if they want to listen to this podcast, but normally they won't because they see something that says the cross smiles. Oh, they're definitely Christian. So that's why I want to go by either Strange O'Clock podcast that appeals to the masses or the Cross Falls podcast, which appeals to Christians. So some people are like,
Anyway. That's funny. That's awesome. I was going to say something and I can't remember.
Oh, I'm sorry if I derailed your thoughts.
No,
that's the end of the show. I can't remember.
I gave up. No, you were talking, and I was like, wanted to go off of one. Oh, yes, I remember now. It's interesting because a lot of people get into conspiracies. They're not religious. They're nothing. They are not closed-minded, but not awakened. And they get into this field. They start looking into things. They start believing in things, and they go down these rabbit holes. It always leads to Jesus. Every single time.
Yes.
It always leads them to Jesus. And that's where it's led me. I also had help from my children. I've also had help from people that I've become close to who also are Christian. And so it's interesting to me. Everybody who is that in my circle anyway, who is into the truth, finding the truth, has come to know Jesus, or they already did.
How can you talk about the Illuminati without talking about a higher power? Because if you're a secularist, you don't believe in God, you don't believe in angels, you don't believe in demons, you don't believe in Satan, and yet some of these atheists, like I once was at one point, they're saying the Illuminati Luciferian agenda is evil. So it's like, where do you get that? Just in general, where does that person get their frame of reference? If you say the Illuminati is evil, so where do you get your frame of reference to say that's evil? How do you believe that something is good or something is evil? Then a lot of times they say whatever I believe is good and evil is good and evil. So everybody out there that's a secularist will say good and evil is determined by the individual. But then we're getting into philosophy here. So just because we're mainly a Christianized society in America doesn't believe that his people in history, Genghis Khan, for example, or Alexander the Great, or any of these dictators that were atheistic and were killing people because they wanted to overtake the world and to propagate the Roman Empire or whatever. Like they believed that the Romans that were secularists are actually, no, they believed in a pantheon of gods, but they believed that the Hebraic Jewish people were less than them and that they were just one sin, but that they were just one action away if they said anything against Caesar and against Rome, just one action or words away to being killed or being thrown in the Colosseum. So is it good and evil based on the individual, or is it based on something that's permanent, something that's biblical, that has a foundation? So that we're going down a philosophical rabbit hole. But yeah, it is interesting for sure. Can you talk to different people?
Absolutely. I love this stuff.
Oh, we love talking to you.
We just finally, if I could just interject on what Geraldine was saying, what we're getting into about the faith aspect. People are coming to know about, I always thought if I just talked about the Illuminati to my Taiwanese students when I was doing mission work in Asia, if I could just expose the enemy's realm, they would get interested in the supernatural, find the Bible and segue into the Bible. I don't personally do that anymore. Not because I'm like, been down that trail, it takes too long. I'm sure it works for some people, but for the most part, when I get the word, if I get this Bible word in front of somebody and I just start shooting out some scripture, it could be anything like John 3:16. It could be a psalm. It could be your word is it's like silver tried 7 times. Or I can say it's easier for all the stars and the sun and the moon to be done away with than for one tiny little aspect of the word of God to be altered. That was a quote from Jesus, by the way. The word is so tried and true and powerful. And to just use that and pepper that into our conversation, that has become more of my focus, at least with my show, than to try to be like, in the old days, I'd be like pulling out John Todd, old Illuminati researcher guy. He was the former Illuminati high-level ranking guy in the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Disappeared. John Todd, pretty famous. Like, really, to get things going here, you can convince people intellectually, or you can speak to their soul and implant that seed of the truth and let that seed germinate. And we live in a pretty wicked and hard-hearted generation. So don't be surprised if a lot of mockers show up. A lot of people, you might have people in your family, even your spouse might say, no, don't do that religious stuff. And you're just trying to get your kids into the kingdom, get them baptized or whatever. Don't let any of that surprise you. The Bible says, Jesus himself said, persecution comes for the word's sake. Once you start getting into this word, somewhere, somehow, some way, some persecution is coming. It's like the Terminator. It just comes. And don't be afraid of that. Don't be surprised of it. It's just, oh my gosh, Terminator, it's here. Yeah, Terminator.
You Sarah Connor.
Yeah. And Kyle Reese be like, Terminators don't feel pain. I do. Interject your line from whatever movie. But we have to stay in the word morning, day, and night to build our faith, to face the Terminators, to face the aliens, to face the ghosts. If the mushroom people are bad. The mushroom people. Oh my God, the mushroom people. The gray alien.
Mushroom on you.
I believe all of it. I think it's all real. Why shouldn't I? There's so many testimonies about all of it. The word is the precious, most powerful weapon to deal with everything. It's in the word of God. And
Absolutely.
Getting into local church, there's a lot of internet people, they hate local church. People need to go to church. Just get into the word yourself and just be spirit-led, be prayerful. But I'm so proud of you. Man, brother, you're such an encouragement to me. So thank you. That was my last rant. Geraldine, what's going on?
I will say one more thing as well. When you talk about persecution, right? You're going to face it at some point when you when you start to know Jesus and you're talking about the word and stuff like that. So I think it was right before you popped on, I was telling Geraldine about my ex-wife. She's okay with my kids being baptized and stuff like that, but she has Buddha statues all over her house. And she was raised Greek Orthodox. So she's, what religion do you want? Yeah.
Interesting.
She goes, what religion are you going to baptize the kids? I was like, Christian. So I was like, that's Christian. I was like, that's the only religion the kids have ever talked about. And she's, I think you should ask them. My yaya, which is grandma in Greek, she'll roll over in her grave if my kids are baptized as Christian. I was like, Greek
Wow.
Orthodox is a type of Christianity.
Right.
So I don't know what
Of
the
course.
problem would be there. But so anyways, so talking about persecution is, so I texted both my kids in a group chat. I said, I was talking to the church and everything. And I was like, maybe I should, just to be safe, I'll ask them. So I asked them, and immediately my daughter answered. 5 minutes later, she said Christian. And then my son answered. My son takes 10 days to reply to text messages sometimes. It didn't take that long, but it was like a day. It was like a day or so later.
Yeah.
He replied, he's Christian. And so I was like, all right, so that's that. And then he said something. One of them said something out loud while they were at home during this exchange. And so she called them down to the living room and was asking them questions. Do you even know anything about Christianity and blah, 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 blah. And the way my son told me anyway, I don't know, I wasn't there. I'm just going based off of my kids' words, is that she was very aggressive with her questioning them about it, and it made my son uncomfortable. She asked him questions about what he knew. I know so much scripture, and when she was asking me, I couldn't think of anything. And I was like, I was like, did she make you uncomfortable? He goes, yeah, a little. And I go, that's why you couldn't think of anything, was because you were uncomfortable.
She was grilling him, interrogating him even.
Yeah. And
that's
my daughter,
for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking when my daughter was like, my daughter was like, yeah, she's, I don't know anything at all. I was like, you have your Bible? And my daughter's, well, I haven't read it yet. I was like, you got to start reading it to know anything, man.
And give them the basics, like Derek Prince, all over, everywhere. That's some of the best stuff to just drive home the basics, the very basics of scripture. That's what we need for our younglings.
It's
absolutely.
Oh, my pretty little one.
She's adorable.
She's baby. I'll be right back. She can't hear you. Say hi to Auntie German and Uncle Kevin. He's what? I'm on the camera. What? Yeah, they watch it. I put on Bible movies just for people with kids. The Greatest Adventures in the Bible series, the cartoons, the Hanna-Barbera series from the 1980s. My mom gave me video cassettes of those. Those are so good. If you have money to buy stuff, Richard Rich, Jesus videos, the Bible stories, Richard Rich. I cry watching those sometimes. The music and the animation is so good. Do not just put on Bible thing for kids on YouTube. A lot of it's AI now. I don't know why, but it just gives me a bad feeling, like just letting my kids watch random AI generated stuff that's talking about the Bible, even if it's technically Bible. I don't know. There's other more obscure shows that are excellent. Sienna, stop it. I am podcasting right now about my daughter. You all know your father. I'll drop two names. You guys can write these down. Treasure Attic, as in attic, like above your house. Treasure Attic. Those are excellent. And Cherub Wings. These are very obscure but very good Bible resources if you want to just give your children something that's extremely helpful and biblical and just very good stuff.
Nice.
God bless you, sir, navigating
God
that.
bless you.
Well done. Proud of you.
Bless you all.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin and Michael,
Thank
for
you.
your time tonight.
Thank you.
And Kevin, how can they reach you, or how can they listen to your stuff?
So Where the Weird Ones Are is available wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube. And if you're interested in conversating or even being on the show, you can reach me at wheretheweirdonесare@gmail.com, or you can get me on Instagram, _the_weirdones_are. And I'm also not opposed to just having a conversation. It doesn't have to be for the show.
Awesome. I appreciate your time tonight, and always a fascinating and fun discussion with you, Kevin, and are blessed and honored to have you on board the Strange O'Clock podcast, Cross Files podcast, Strange. And thank you so much for listening and or watching the Cross Files podcast. Have a strange and supernatural day or evening wherever you are at in the world. And may the cross be with you. Love you all. Bye. God bless.
You guys.